2, 1. Okay.
Did we do it?
No, we did it. 3, 2, 1. Nope. Okay. But anyways, we tried. Hi everyone. This is Talakayan Thursdays, and I'm here with two of my good friends. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Hello, I'm Danya. I'm a fourth-year student. I'm finishing my last 5 weeks of uni. Yeah.
Nice. And our second guest?
I'm Mina, and technically I've graduated, but not really because graduation got cancelled. So.
Yeah, as with the rest of our lives. Oh, and I didn't introduce myself last time. So my name is Kyra, and I'm in my 6th year, and I'm still at uni, but learning remotely. And the three of us will be talking about something that has really impacted our lives in the last couple of weeks, which is COVID-19. And specifically, I think we are reflecting on what COVID-19 has taught us. Things about being human, I think, mostly. COVID-19 has taught us that we can feel, that we have emotions that might overwhelm us. It teaches us more about human connection and the importance of that during this time. And it also teaches us to be more resilient and the fact that humans can be resilient. Yeah. So, we'll just start with the first point that we as humans do feel, and that emotions are okay. So I just wanted to ask my guests over here, you're like Boy Bunda, whether or not you guys have gone through any emotions that have overwhelmed you during this time, and what were the causes of those emotions?
I guess anxiety would be the biggest one. Very anxious of how the next the new normal will be, how we're gonna adapt to this whole change, because it's a forced change, and that the fact that it's forced upon us is so it increases my anxiety so much. Anxious about the current relationships I have with my friends, my family, and just my partner.
Yeah, true. Yeah, definitely very difficult. Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, so this is what I always say when people ask me how I am. It's that as an introvert, I'm thriving in this lockdown, but as a member of society and in this economy, I can't help but be anxious, like what Danya said, about is everything going to be normal? Is it ever going to be normal? How long are we going to be like this kind of thing?
True. It's interesting that you differentiate that, because it kind of just shows us more about what it's like being human. We have different ways to cope with something like this. On one hand, you have people who are feeling anxious, and I think that's okay. It's definitely valid, because as Maslow would say, it is your basic needs of safety and your basic needs of feeling secure are really being disturbed, so you're unable to really have that confidence to move forward. But at the same time, for some people it might be okay, a range of different ways that people have responded to it. And I think COVID has taught us that we need to be more wide in our perspective, more empathetic of these different ways of responding to a global pandemic, which isn't minor. So you've mentioned things like anxiety, or feeling overwhelmed and feeling uncertain about the future. Are there any ways that you can you can suggest, or you can share that you've dealt with those feelings as they came up?
Well, one of the things that I mentioned was I was anxious about my relationships with my friends and family and partner. So with friends, I would hit them up and ask them to hang out through Zoom, hang out through video call, catch up with them and see how they're dealing with it as well. Because then I guess talking to them and finding out what they're doing and how they're feeling, it's easy. My anxiety about how our relationship's going. Another one is with my partner. I was very anxious if obviously we just started seeing each other, so I was very anxious if that's going to affect us not seeing each other and us not being physically together is going to affect how we are, because it's so early on in the relationship. But thankfully we have Netflix party, we have FaceTime, and we started doing this thing which is called Photo of the Day, where we would send each other photos and videos and tell each other like, and it has like a caption of like what that photo's about, basically stories from our past and like how we, like, you know, we lived before meeting each other. And it's just a nice way to get to know each other more. And that just like eased my anxiety about like how our relationship is, and that at least now I know it's like he wants to still be connected with me even though we're physically apart.
Oh, nice. Mina?
So, on the other side of the spectrum, completely different to Danya, I tend to deal with my thoughts alone. Like, I kind of just leave them in my head to marinate, and I deal with them in my head. And that's why I haven't really been online or talking as much to you guys, because I've kind of just been dealing with that. I'm so sorry.
It's alright.
Yeah. And keeping myself busy as well.
Yeah, it's different strokes for different folks, right? Like for some people, it's best to, you know, go head on, and think about them and actually deal with them. But for some people, yeah, you probably have to deal with it eventually. But sometimes the less destructive way to deal with those emotions is probably just to keep yourself busy. Like Mina, you were telling me about that music project that you were doing, which
yeah.
So what was it?
It takes so much of my one brain cell to even listen to just one, like all of the entire discography of one artist is so much from my one brain cell. But it keeps me occupied in a way that like it's still stimulating and not just like a distraction. It's actually making me do something.
So for context, the project is called the Music Project, and she basically examines and analyzes the full discography of a random artist. So it can be from like Eraserheads to Madonna. She listens to the entire thing and she like records, you know, like that's crazy. But yeah, you're right, it's still creatively stimulating. Things like journaling also helps. Yeah, Danya, and you've been doing journaling and things.
Oh yeah, I picked up journaling. Well, I've been journaling since like high school, but I decided to like use my 2020 planner because, you know, you can't really plan things right now. And I decided to just use that as like to record my isolation. So I have like ISO day 1 to like ISO day 40. We're on 40 now, right? I think so. But yeah, just writing, like, you know, that's a lot of words of God knows what I write about.
I mean, these reflective like activities are really helpful, I think, because it gets you in tune with your own emotions, but also maybe as a helpful distraction for your emotions if they get too overwhelming. But you know, some people might say that these aren't like productive or whatever. Should you still be doing this if they're not productive? You know, have you guys dealt with that kind of comment from other people, like, oh, you should be more productive because it's like isolation, you know? Like, have you guys dealt
most definitely. Yeah, nah. Like, you see on Instagram all those people post about their like workout challenge, run 5, get 5. Like, no, I'm not running 5 kilometers. No, thank you.
5 kilometers, like
sleep for 5. Not sleep. Like, no, thank you. Or like baking. Oh, cooking. I see people like cooking up a storm. Like, I know how to cook Spam. That's it.
I cook rice with, you know, and as James Rocket says, you have to make sure that the water goes to this line.
That line.
Yeah.
But thankfully, though, even though like people are like saying, "Oh, that's not productive," I found something that I like doing that made me feel productive, which was dancing. Yeah. So I like would attend dance classes online. Obviously, I keep forgetting. Online, IG classes, Zoom classes. So I felt like even though I'm not doing something that people think is productive, dancing was something I liked, and taking all these dance classes and like, you know, learning more choreographies and becoming, you know, training myself to become a better dancer is something I found productive and something I found worthwhile, you know.
Yeah. In a similar like way to Danya, like the things that I'm doing, I've picked up painting again, and also I've been doing an artist project. And a lot of people might not think that it's very productive, like it's kind of just a hobby, but I think it's productive because I think it meets my needs, and I think I'm having fun, and that's what I want out of it.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's, like I guess it's like this, I don't know, I don't want to be too political about it, but it's like this kind of capitalist mindset of like, oh yeah, after you graduate, or like, when you're able-bodied, you have to go and work, as in like make money. And like, this is not considering the fact, by the way, that for some people that's definitely a need. Like, that's definitely a need. But to say that is the only way for us to be productive and to actually, do something that has some worth, I think is a little bit harsh, given that this society right now under COVID is totally different. It's very insecure. Like, you can't just live day to day without thinking about safety, or thinking about uncertainty. I think the most productive thing that we can do is to focus on those basic needs that we have. One of the things that I learned about with COVID-19 is that human connection is really, really important, especially in a time where we're physically distant, but we should really be socially closer. Have you guys had any like chances for you to reconnect or stay in touch or nurture those connections that you have around this time of like isolation?
Well, I started talking to my friend, and she was also a dancer, and we both found the time with ISO a chance to like relight the passion we have for dancing. And throughout ISO, we would always like talk to each other, tell each other about dance classes, or like just hit each other up about like when something is on, and like showing each other our dance videos and critiquing each other. And I just found that really like it's like our way of like connecting, even though we're so far apart, and even though like in our pre-COVID, pre-lockdown, we actually never had the chance to do this. So that was really nice, and just like building that relationship again, was really good. And I'm thankful for that opportunity, even though COVID's not really a situation that I want to be in.
Yeah, I haven't been online as much, so I haven't really talked to people as much. Maybe like once a week I'll do a video call with someone, but I'm so sorry if I ghosted you, by the way.
Salty, man. You can't take that away.
It's alright, sanay naman ako. That's a lie. I actually don't ghosting, but it's alright.
But anyway, something that I noticed is that since we're in 2020 and we have internet culture, we have meme culture. And
That's
something that I noticed in Facebook is like the uprise of groups like trash talk groups. I'm in like 3. Like groups where you pretend to be something, like you pretend to be an ant in an ant colony, you pretend to be a Karen. There's one where you pretend to be a bee. Yeah,
like what do you do? Do you like?
You pretend to be ants.
Do ants even talk?
They can communicate somehow.
Though, because you're part of that group.
Yes, I'm in it.
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, again, as I said, different strokes for different. Like, I mean, I'm not judging, but I mean, I guess that's a way. Like, that's a way. This is a way to. Yeah. I mean, Zoom is definitely like a big thing at the moment. Zoom, and then there's I guess, I don't know if people still FaceTime. That's a thing too. The Netflix party thing is a thing. Like, so if you can watch like movies with your friends. There's also things like Scriblio, where like you can it's like Pictionary, but like online, which is pretty cool.
Online Cards Against Humanity, online Uno.
Oh, very nice. Cards Against Humanity, that'd be fun. What about people within your bubble? Like, what's that been like? Has COVID been a chance for you to rekindle that connection? I mean, for me it has, because I just remember at some point that I was like, wow, I completely forgot the taste of sinigang, because I'm always outside, like I always eat out, which is pretty bad, But you know, like recently I've just been having dinner with my family like every day, and it's the gang, you know. What about you guys?
Yes, similar to you, that like pre-COVID, pre-lockdown, I didn't really spend much time with my family. But ever since lockdown, like my family and I have been like eating together a lot more. Like we never did that. And like I've talked to them a lot more. So yeah.
Well, for me, for my family, we always like pre-COVID, we always had dinner together. But ever since like I started working full time, and then obviously with full-time uni as well, and like doing all these extracurriculars or spending time with my friends, I kind of prioritize all of that over like spending time with my family. So I haven't had dinner with them, you know. I barely did, you know, had dinner with them. But now that I'm stuck in ISO, I always eat my meals with them. I hang out with my sisters. This one time Ali and I hid in my older sister's room, Kyla's room, to scare her. And then when we finally did scare her, I couldn't help myself but laugh because her face was hilarious. And I just kept on laughing and laughing and laughing. And Aaliyah thankfully video recorded the whole thing. And she recorded my sister's reaction and also me laughing. And after I calmed down, she goes, I'm going to keep this video because I haven't heard you laugh that loud and that like wholehearted, you know. And in my head, I was just like, that's false because I'm always like this. I'm always this outgoing. I'm always like this type of person with my friends. And it hit me. The reason why she said that is because she never got the chance to actually see me as that person. So then I decided, you know, like, no one else but my family's in my bubble. Might as well just take that time to like build those like, you know, sister relationships and make it stronger. Because I haven't done that.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess the three of us are very privileged to be in that situation. I think I'm just wanting to point out that there are people who don't have that. For example, you know, overseas Filipino migrants. And we know about our kababayan there. Like, it's very difficult for them to have those relationships when they're so far away from their families. And people who might not have that, like, those same dynamics with their families. That's so. I guess in one sense, like, it's a real privilege for us. But no, just to point out to people who might not have those dynamics within their family that there are other ways to connect to people, you know, like people outside of your family. There are people that you can reach out to. There are avenues and helplines that you can reach out to if ever ISO is so very isolating. We do have the ability as human beings to thrive. So I guess the question that I do want to pose is, you know, for you guys personally, how have you been finding? Well, have you found rays of hope during this time in the waiting, and how do you keep that sense of hope for a future that is, I don't know, that is quite uncertain for many of us?
Well, for me, I would see a bunch of influencers or even just people on Instagram posting all these like wonderful encouraging messages, all these like people donating to Women's Refuge, or like for all these like really good charities. And I guess seeing all these people being compassionate online, I just hope, and I really wish that after this whole thing, after COVID, people would still be equally or more compassionate and caring, considerate of those around them, of their neighbors and stuff. Because it would be nice to live in a world where everyone's more caring and like more mindful of their neighbors.
Yeah, similar to Danya, like for me, it's seeing frontliners more specifically, because I have relatives who are frontliners. Actually, one of my cousins is a frontliner in Manila right now, and every day she like posts something on Instagram about like their day, like just seeing how it is in the hospital, and it gives me hope to see like so many of them working so hard. But it's also kind of sad because you see how many people are there who are like struggling with COVID as well. But it's still good to see the good side of things.
Yeah, definitely. I guess in saying that too, Just on the note where you mentioned that you see other people also struggling through COVID, it is an eye-opening experience. Like, it has been an eye-opening experience for me, in the sense that I've learned a lot about privilege during this time. Social distancing is a privilege, you know. Like, we've talked about the fact that we are able to have these relationships with the people within our bubble that's not necessarily destructive, or that's, you know, that we can kind of survive that. We've talked about the fact that we can still do all these things that we love, like journaling or dancing or you know, the music project. But, you know, for many people who are undergoing things like financial stress because of redundancies, people who are away from their families, people who don't have the necessities that we tend to take for granted, like a decent home or shelter, free COVID testing. Like, I forgot that was a thing. Like, what? So in other places it's not free, like the Philippines? Like, wow. You know, like those things that we just kind of take for granted. How many cases did New Zealand have today?
Today. Yeah.
The second day in a row. Wow.
Gang.
So things will get better, folks. Things will get better. Hang in there. You guys want to say a few concluding remarks, concluding tips before we end this?
Keep safe.
Keep safe.
And keep
Stay
sane.
within the bubble. Stay within your bubble.
Yes.
Stay within your bubble.
Stay safe, save lives.
Yes.
Stay home, save lives.
Stay home, save lives. Keep safe, keep sane during this chaos.
Yes.
Order some KFC fried chicken. Oh, no. Support local.
Support local.
There you go.
Keep
That's
safe,
my
home, save lives, and we will
support
see you in
local.
the next episode. Adios. Bye-bye.
Down, yeah. I've been feeling so down.